lesson 10, we're going to continue with comparing rational numbers. And again, rational numbers are positive or negative, fraction, decimals, or whole numbers. Your objectives for lesson 10 is that you can write inequality statements involving rational numbers. Also, you'll be able to explain why you wrote the inequality the way that you chose to. So there are two ways that we would write inequalities. One of them is using a greater than, which looks like this, or a less than, which looks like this. Now, we're going for greater than. On our number line, we're going to go from right to left. If we are doing less than, we'll go from left to right on the number line. If they ask you to put it in decreasing order or from greatest to least, you're going to use greater than. If they tell you to put it in increasing order or least to greatest, you're going to use less than. Now, your reasoning with a number line, you're able to explain that a number is greater if it is farther to the right on a number line, or you can say a number is less if it is furthest to the left on the number line, or if it's to the left of another number on the number line. When you're looking at decimals, you need to compare numbers by place value. So your example, 45 hundredths is greater than 125 thousandths because 4 is greater than 1 in the tens place. So the tens place is your strongest value. It's the greatest place value, and that's why we want to look at the tens place first to then compare which one is greater or which one is least. And then for fractions, when we are comparing them, you're going to find the common denominator and you're going to compare the numerators, the farthest to the right, the greater, or the farthest to the left, the least. We have done examples for all of these in lesson 9 and in our fluency and morning work. So this shouldn't be a new concept for you. We're just going to be working more with it. So if you can go ahead and open your book to lesson 10, we will get started with your book work. All right, so in lesson 10, our opening exercise, the amount of money I have in my pocket is less than, so here's my less than, $5, but greater than $4. So if it's less than $5, let's look at this number line. So we have $4, and then after $4 comes $5. It says that it's less than 5, which is to the left, and it's greater than 4, which is from here to the right, which means we're going to be between $4 and $5. One possible value for the amount of money in your pocket, we could say anything between $4 and $5. So I could say $4.50, I could say $4.25, I could say $4.10. It's going to be 4 something. It can't be 4 because it's not an equal to. It's just greater than 4 and less than 5. So I'm just going to pick the middle and I'm going to say $4.50. You could pick anything for something. It says write an inequality statement comparing the possible values of the money in my pocket to $4. Now, possible value, I'm just going to use this for a V. That's just a variable because it could be any number. Now, if you want to use your number that you already selected, you can. I'm going to use V because it could be multiple numbers. It just depends on what you picked. So my value of the money in my pocket has to be greater than $4, which is what I wrote right up here. Down here it says write an inequality statement comparing your possible value to $5. Well, my value, just like I wrote here, has to be less than $5. So it says graph your answer from the opening exercise on the number line below. I picked $4.50 because they told me that it has to be between $4 and $5. I'm going to put my $4 and $5 on there. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 spots between it, which means I'm going to be counting by 10, but since I have to work with decimals, I'm going to be counting by 10 hundredths. So this is going to be 410, and then 420, 430, 440, 450, this was my value, 460, 470, 480, and 490, and then it'd be up to $5. Now, it says also graph the point associated with 4 and 5 on the number line. So you should have a point graphed at 4 and 5 on that number line. So I'm going to graph 4 and I'm going to graph 5. And then it says, write one inequality statement that shows the relationship among all three numbers. There are two ways you go. So like I said, greatest to least in your notes. Greatest to least, we would have greater than. So this is greatest to least. And greatest to least, we go from the right to the left on the number line. So I start on the right. $5 is my greatest. My next one would be $4.50, and then my last one would be $4. $5 is greater than $4.50, which is greater than 4. As you can see, 5 is also greater than 4. So that's our greatest to least. Now, least to greatest is going to be from left to right, and least to greatest, we're using our less than symbol. This one's using our greater than symbol. So I'm going to have left would be $4 is greater than $4.50, which is greater than 5. So again, I'm just going from left to right for greatest to least. Let's go ahead and look at our example 1. It says, write an inequality statement to show the relationship among the following shoe sizes. We have a 10.5, an 8, and a 9. First, least to greatest. So least to greatest means we're using less than. And these are all positive numbers, so we're just going to count like we would always count. The least number would be 8, which is less than 9, which is less than 10 and a half. Now they want greatest to least. Now this is just the opposite order, but we're using our greater than symbol. So then we have greatest number would be 10.5 is greater than 9 is greater than 8. Your example 2, we're looking at data. Now we're working with decimals. Luckily, these are all in the tens place, so I don't need to do anything beyond that. I'm just going to compare my tens place because, again, the tens place is the strongest place value. It holds the most value. So in May, well, here, I won't read all of that. That's all of the data. She's comparing the rainfall totals for May, June, and July. The data is reflected in the table below. Fill in the blanks to create inequality statements that compare changes in total rainfall. So we're looking at changes in total rainfall, which means I'm only looking at this column, change in total rainfall. It says, write one inequality to order the changes in total rainfall. First of all, it's from least to greatest. So I'm looking over here, my least. I only have one negative number, which means that has to be the least. So that's 1 4/10. And again, least to greatest means we're going using a less than symbol. So 1 4/10 is less than. Now I have a 3 and a 5, both in the tens place. So my 3 is my next least, which is less than my 5/10. Then we have from greatest to least, which means we're doing greater than, but it's just going to be, this one we went from left to right on the number line. And for this one, we have to go right to left on the number line. And that would be 5/10 is greater than 3/10, which is greater than -1 and 4/10. Now, on the number line, these are all in tens place, which means we need to count by tenths. I'm going to just start with the numbers that they gave me. So I'm going to start with a -1 and 4/10, and then I'm going to end in a 5/10. I'm going to have to count by tenths places, though, to do this. So 1 4/10 would then be -1 and 3/10, -1 and 2/10, -1 and 1/10, and then a -1. And then I have 9/10, 8/10, 7/10, 6/10, and these are all negatives. -5/10, -4/10, -3/10. Looks like I'm going to have to go quite a bit further than I was expecting. -2/10, -1/10. Here's my 0. Then I have 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, and 5/10. I can graph all my points now. So a -1 and 4/10, and then I have 3/10 comes next, and then 5/10 comes next. Least to greatest would be left to right, which means you would say -1 and 4/10 is further to the left on the number line than 3/10, which is further to the left than 5/10. Now, greatest to least we go from right to left. So you'd say 5/10 is further to the right than 3/10, which is further to the right than -1 and 4/10. Now, we're going to go ahead and look at this next page. I'm going to have you choose a couple exercises to do. I am going to have you do number 9, which is here on the next page. So you have to do number 9 for me to check. And then looking at exercises 5 through 8, you don't have to do number 5. You will have to do numbers 6, 7, and 9. So I would like you to complete 6, 7, and 9. Bring that to me, have me check it so I can move you on to your exit.